This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
Welcome to the Supreme Resort Land v. World, a podcast about Disneyland and Walt Disney World, and which is the Supreme Resort. Each episode, we will discuss and explore each resort, ride by ride, land by land, restaurant by restaurant, to determine which is better. I'm your host, Jimmy, and thank you for joining me on this quest to help the greater good of humanity answer this long, elusive question, which is better, Disneyland or Walt Disney World? Joining me as always to find the answer is Dan.
Hey, I'm Dan, saying hi to all those grads and dads out there. It's that season. It's also trash day, but great. Outside of my house,
hey, it's trash day here too.
Dads. Yeah.
Sunday trash day.
That voice you hear is Eric. Shh, can't talk until you're introduced.
What? Oh, no. I ruined it. Well, how about I go with the other thing I was going to say, which was I'll say hi to all of the people who are still in school and all of the moms.
Oh, all right.
There we go. Not just grads and dads. I'll say hi to
people
everybody
are dead
else.
to me.
Shouldn't it be moms and proms? Grads and dads, moms and proms, right?
That's diabolical. Yeah,
it's about the same time. Anyway,
that will lead to absolutely nothing problematic. Having dads and grads lumped together and moms and bros lumped together.
Yeah, that's fair. Good point. I didn't think about that. I was just thinking about alliteration and rhyming and stuff.
No, you're right. And I mean, even conceptually, it's not. It is. If we lived in a normal world, it would not be problematic. But unfortunately, we live in a world where after like a year or two, it would become these are the boy things and these are the girl things.
That's a good point. Like graduating from high school, etc.
Exactly.
Good point, Dan.
Girls can graduate from high school too, Jimmy.
Man, you give them the vote, and all of a sudden,
second time using that joke today.
I know, but that's the only one on the tape. So.
Hello?
Suck it. And listener, I support all people, whether you're in school or not, whether you're a mom or not, or a dad or not. We welcome and embrace you. So welcome to the Supreme Resort. We were talking before we recorded about future episodes, or maybe a series is what I was thinking, rather than a whole episode, where we talk about the best strategies to navigate the parks. And I don't know how we make that a versus or not, but just an example that Dan's given in the past is, what you do, you get there, rope drop, buy Genie Plus, but then go on Fantasyland rides and Thunder, or what was it?
If you care about Fantasyland rides, do them very, very early. If you don't worry about it because you don't care about it. And then Jungle Cruise and Pirates of the Caribbean, you already know how I feel about Pirates of the Caribbean at the beginning of the day. Yep. After you get those three things out of the way, it's all just lightning lane stuff or stuff with no lines at all ever, or things with single rider.
Yeah. So things like that, like here's some good examples. And as to not confuse the listener, because we'll probably give multiple different opinions of how to do it. Mm-hmm. Maybe we make it a segment moving forward. But Eric, was there a call to action there?
A call to action as in?
For our listeners to tell us, I wrote down... You said something. I thought there was. No,
it was
right?
me. I'm
sorry.
I'm Dan. I know all white people look alike too, but that's.
At least Dan knows what's going on.
And that's a callback to back when Jeremy got us confused.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and I told him that he thinks all white people look alike. I was just saying if there's anything that the listener might want us to cover, maybe not even if they're not sure, because I would imagine that if you're listening to this, you probably have some knowledge of how to approach things, but maybe you want to hear like what we think. So maybe just so you can say we're wrong. That's kind of fun sometimes.
That is fun. Or give us feedback and point out our flaws and why it's a bad idea to go on the big boat ride first. I'm so tired.
Oh no,
it's a Mark Twain.
No. Pirates of the Caribbean.
The big boat ride.
It's a big ride. There's boats.
Jimmy is for this episode. Jimmy is actually 3 children wearing a trench coat, and that's why I called it the big boat ride. The big
true.
Scary boat ride.
That's what I feel like. I told these guys I feel like I got roofied. Okay, so call to action is, listener, if you want to hear any of that and or have any suggestions of what we cover as Disney Parks experienced expert whatever's plus a concierge at whatever. Speaking of concierge, 856 our ears. The end. We were on the sweep spot.
Mm-hmm.
This episode will come out on the 20th of June. Is that correct?
Yes.
So by then, the sweep spot we were on will have been released. I believe it releases 3 days ago. Was it on
Friday?
On Friday, whatever Friday
date
was. So go to the sweep spot and listen to us kind of, the
16th.
Lynn and Ken, thank you, the 16th of June. Lynn and Ken quasi-interviewed us on, hey, if you're a Disneylander and you've only been to Disneyland and you're going to go to Disney World, what should you absolutely not miss? And we kind of went around the room and had a similar conversation on the other side. If you only go to Disney World and you're going to go to Disneyland, what's the one thing? So multiple opinions, but it was fun. I think we represented the show well, but go listen to the sweep spot. If you're here because of the sweep spot, you know already.
Can we have a special hello for them, Eric?
Hello.
There we go.
Yes, Michael Eisner says hello. Welcome. Glad it's your first show. Thanks for listening. All right. So anything else from you guys before we get to the main topic?
Well, I mean, I'd like to share my opinion about whether or not the Earth is round.
Nice. He kept the rim shot.
Nice.
We are the morning zoo now. Jeez.
Oh, God.
Great. I gotta change my voice just a little bit.
Hey, yeah. Also,
why they got the people over there? It doesn't really move any people, just moves cars. Speaking of cars,
you're going to talk about the
traffic.
Cubs next, Harry
Traffic
Carey?
and weather.
We also have another show, The Scraping the Vault, where we reviewed Leroy and Stitch. That is the 4th in the series of Lilo and Stitch universe, I guess.
Yep.
I believe it's the end of the series that they did. It was the finale of the series, also turned into a TV movie. It was what you'd expect.
And that's going to be released at the end of this month. And the one, if you're listening to it, if you're listening to this episode on release date, the current one available is Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia.
Everyone's favorite Disney sequel.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So, Eric, do you have anything else you'd like to discuss before we get to the main topic?
Not particularly, no.
Great.
I should mention, I was on Puny Pod.
Oh, our Puny Pod. It's another podcast
sister,
on our network.
Brother show, our relative show on the network.
You don't alienate anyone.
They get the nice trailer.
They do get the nice trailer. We talked about the Avengers for many hours.
I heard you recorded for 5 hours.
Holy cow. It was such a long day.
That's for you listener who don't know about the Puny Pod. It's a Marvel Cinematic Universe rewatch podcast. And they're going once a month. They go by release movie. So they started with Iron Man, and then they made it up to Avengers. And that's not a 5-hour episode. They recorded 2 different episodes, right? There's one about the Avengers, and then the other one was.
Yeah, they also do a what do they call it? The super secret spoiler show where they talk more about the same movie, but they.
Behind a paywall?
It's behind our paywall for patrons only. But yeah, the main show, they try to keep it spoiler free. So they'll talk about things that happen in that movie, but they won't talk about the next movie or things that were set up in the current movie.
That's cool.
So in the spoiler show, they talk about future events that this led to, which is kind of a fun connection.
I think I'd rather listen to that episode.
I like both, really, but because I always learn something from both sides of it. Things that, I mean, I've watched these movies so many times and I'm still they find stuff that I don't know, which is crazy.
Right. Well, I'm going to stall for just a moment because Dan, you had an example of how this episode.
Oh, yes. Do you want me to share just give people the outline? Have an idea of what we're working
Yeah, but
with?
I want to know what it is so I can direct the show.
Oh, okay. Meanwhile, while we have this moment together, I'd like to just say hello. I'm from another podcast that exists also behind the paywall. Sometimes when Jason decides
There's no way you sent it in May.
Decides to release it. I believe Eric's looking. Hello.
That's right.
It's not this.
Too bad Eric doesn't have paper to write down.
Can I speak to the producer? Is Sam here? I believe I spoke to Sam. Well, anyway,
Copy of Lamplight
welcome
Lounge,
to the Supreme Resort after hours during. I don't really know how to do this.
We're finally doing it during hours.
Okay, so it's history,
should we all just talk over each other?
and then lobby check-in.
People don't like this, do they?
Menu.
This is the segment where all three of us try to do a different bit
Land impact on
at the same time.
I'm not doing a bit. I'm reading. Reading is not
maybe I didn't need a different song.
Can do a
Let me
scientist
try.
spotlight, and I will do the creepy announcer voice from the Supreme Resort after
try this
hours.
one. Maybe this will do it.
Okay.
This is a.
If you've come here from the sweet spot,
deleting.
hello.
Eric, please do not leave this in.
Real sorry. Real sorry, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Ambiance.
Is Asher here? Do we have any Asher lying around? But not the one not the most recent one. Do you have?
Okay.
Opening that folder.
I feel like we should introduce the new listeners to every aspect of our
we
show.
Cannot keep this in.
Even I think the music at Avengers Campus is repetitive, and I've spent entire weekends watching the same TikTok on repeat.
Asher.
We are the morning zoo.
And we're back. Okay, so this is a little bit different episode. It's not a ride, so we don't have queue, etc. But this is the
Jimmy,
case.
I believe the seats at the bar swivel.
Well, that is a ride. This is the case.
Hard enough.
The case of
Asher
the
can tell
Waterside.
What happened?
The case of the Waterside restaurants with views of nighttime spectaculars, Rose and Crown v. Lamplight Lounge. That's the working title, so you know what this is we're doing. This is an example of trying to be as complete as we can. You know, we've covered a lot of the rides. Now we're kind of going through and finding some other nuances. And we decided we love the Lamplight Lounge. And we're like, well, what's the comparison? And we're like, okay, both second gates, both on the water, both have views of nighttime spectaculars.
Both popular.
And then both very popular. So then then we're thinking, well, there's Rose and Crown, but then there's also a restaurant like that in Mexico. There's also the restaurant like that in Morocco, Spice Road Tables. So like, which one really is the best comparison to Lamplight Lounge? And the Morocco restaurant's not popular, so that doesn't count. And there's no outdoor seating in the Mexico one, only in the quick service, right?
There's the second San Angel
in 2.
Now I'm blanking on what it's called, but they've got outdoor seating up there.
Hacienda does San Angel, isn't it?
I think you're correct. Yeah. There's
anyway,
not much,
but for whatever reason, we decided to do Rose and Crown. So that's what we're doing.
Sure, why not?
How this is going to go is that we're going to start with the history of the restaurant, the lobby / check-in, the ambiance, then the menu, and then reviews of the restaurant, the land impact, and the bathroom. By code, you have to have a bathroom in a dining establishment.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Okay, so Eric is going to be arguing for the Rose and Crown, and Dan will be arguing for Lamplight Lounge. As they argue, if there's something that I like about Rose and Crown, you will hear this sound.
Brilliant!
Brilliant. That's perfect. Is it because it's British and British people say that?
No, that's from the old. Do you remember that those old Guinness commercials?
Oh yeah, I do remember those.
Yes. Just declare everything brilliant.
That's right. And if Dan says something about the Lamplight Lounge that I enjoy, you will hear this sound.
But you blew my mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Self-explanatory.
Is it now?
Everybody knows
Okay.
that song.
Yeah, everybody knows. Well, this is a reference to a joke that I have somewhere in my notes that isn't actually even that funny, unless you're a huge fan of Roxy Music, because this used to be Avalon Cove. And
Yes.
there was
Now
a
I get
song
it.
by Roxy Music called Avalon,
There you
Not
go.
this song.
but not that song. That's a song from another album when Brian Eno was still with them called In Every Dream Home a Heartache, about a very lonely, very rich person. That is a wonderful, wonderful song that everybody needs to listen
And
to.
let's hear that again.
But you blew my mind.
That's a song.
It's part of a song. It's the
Okay.
transition part of the song.
Yeah, it
Roxy
goes back
Music
after
is
that.
really an
Bye.
underrated band.
Evidently. Okay, everybody. So we're going to get started because the Rose and Crown came first. Eric, please give us the history of the Rose and Crown at Epcot.
Awesome. I finally get to go first.
Yay.
Look at that. Let's see here. Well, the Rose and Crown opened on the first day that Epcot opened, October 1st, 1982, and it's been largely the same since then.
Excellent work.
I've got more.
Waste your opportunity to go first. You have more?
I've got more that I'll
Okay.
talk about.
That was
It's
a
not-
very pregnant pause.
that was what I was going for.
Intended
Yes,
comedic
but-
effect.
Yes,
Got it.
hopefully it worked for some people. Maybe somebody liked it. But yeah, a little bit more about the pub. The name Rose and Crown is the 12th most popular pub name in the United Kingdom. There are over 400 pubs in the UK
Wow.
with that name. Yeah, so yeah, it's pretty popular. The Rose and Crown symbology represents the monarchy and loyalty to monarchy.
Huh.
King Edward III was the first king to use a golden rose as his symbol, and his sons John and Edmund used red and white roses respectively as their symbols.
I have a question.
Yes,
You said the Rose and Crown, the name Rose and Crown is the 12th most popular name for a pub in the UK.
yes.
What is the 11th?
Uh,
No, what is the most popular name?
Well, let's find out.
Is it something something? No, that's Irish.
The Corgi
The
Lou.
Red Lion.
The Red Lion is the most common pub name in the UK.
That's what I'm seeing. Oh, wait, look here. We've got pubnames.co.uk.
Ooh, let's play the
UK's
game.
top 100. All right. So the Red Lion is the most popular.
Dan, do you want to guess the second most? Because we're talking the whole UK, not just England.
The Corgi Lad.
Corky.
I'm going to say that's not on the list. I'm going to go with O'Sullivan's.
I don't see O'Sullivan's
Is
anywhere
there
on
any
here.
O apostrophes at all on the list?
Not so far.
No.
I'm down to 28 here. And actually, according to this list, it's the 5th most popular.
Rose and
There
Crown?
are only Rose and Crown, and there are only 200 that have that name. So who knows?
All right. It was a fun fact that may or may not be true.
It is a fact. So it is a very popular name. And the Corgi Lad is not
Not in the top 100.
It's
not
a really
in the top
interesting
100.
take on a centaur, though. Centaur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Centaur is a
Centaur, yeah.
body of a man,
This
the
would be-
upper part of a man and body of a horse.
yeah, so this would be the upper
So
body
a
of a
corgi
man.
lad is a boy's torso with the body of a corgi. Yeah, we need to start one. We need to start a pub called
The
Corgi.
Oh,
Corgi
God.
Lad.
That if we were more popular, that would be a T-shirt.
That's a
immediately.
t-shirt right now.
Corgi Lad.
Yeah. All right, fan art. Go ahead.
Yeah, if somebody draws it for us, we'll put it on a t-shirt. Oh my. Well, anyway, there was the War of the Roses that followed years after
Disney
King
movie.
Edward III. What's that?
The Disney movie.
Yes, the War of the Roses.
It's a touchstone, right?
I think
so.
it was Touchstone.
That's an Eisner joint, isn't it?
It sounds like one.
Yes, but there was an actual War of the Roses between this family years down the line. And what ended up happening is the Tudors ended up inheriting the country. I don't know why Dan's laughing.
What kind of tutors were they? Were they math tutors?
There we go.
There's a Tudor mansion and a Fordor mansion.
I
This
hate
is
myself
going
for
great.
making that joke. This is going to be a good episode for
I'm
someone's
looking
first.
forward. I'm looking forward to starting. Yeah. So the Tudors have as their symbol a red and white rose with a crown. So that is the rose and crown. Jimmy just
a corgi
drew
lad.
the corgi lad.
Just drew the corgi lad. It's a visual podcast. Sorry, folks.
Gosh.
All right, keep going, Eric.
So imagine
that's
you-
what you get for going first.
This is what happens. Imagineers designed the pub based on several that they saw in England. Because, of course, Imagineers have the coolest job ever, and they get to travel around the world looking at things and then making them in America.
And it's not an authentic British pub without the bar being from an authentic British pub. Is that correct?
I don't know.
Because it feels like every time you go into like an Irish pub or whatever in the United States, they're always like, this
brag.
bar was from the actual Irish pub from 2,000 years ago or whatever.
Could be. I don't think
I don't think so, though.
That might be the real world trying to like counter Epcot. No
Maybe.
pun intended.
Because we're talking about a counter.
Yeah.
A bar.
All right,
yes.
Imagineers are awesome. Go ahead.
Yeah. And let's see. Bass was the original sponsor for the pub, and they had full say on the signage and the design of the pub. And I don't know what this means to anybody, but a freelance designer named Charles Opeek created the signage for the pub. The Imagineers actually used a freelance guy and liked what he did enough that they kept it.
Who was the sponsor?
Bass.
Bass,
Ale.
the beer.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why in the promotional video, the guy says pint of Bass ale, mate, and he says cheers and he drinks it.
Ooh.
That should have been
He
the
doesn't
sound.
drink it. The bartender doesn't drink
No,
it.
the bartender hands it to a patron.
The bartender smiles, takes a sip.
Pint of Bass ale, mate, and then he says cheers, and the guy drinks it with a smile. That should have been the sound.
We can't fire him. He just keeps
People
coming
keep buying
in,
him beer.
and he keeps just naming the things that he's about to drink and just downs it.
And as in my experience in the pub, it's very small. The main dining room is it modeled after something in particular, or is just a freelance guy modeled it?
The freelance guy made the sign. They did model it after several styles of British buildings, and I had planned on getting to that later. If you'd like to hear about it now, I can certainly tell you.
Dude, keep going. I'll stop derailing you now.
Well, I was going to get to it at a later point. Thanks, Dan. A later point in the presentation here under ambiance. You know, that part later.
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah. We're not there yet, though.
Nope. Proceed.
I don't think so. What is happening?
I don't know. Keep talking about the history.
That's basically it.
Okay, thank you.
It has changed so little over the years. They moved the entrance. They added a new check-in booth outside. Like there's almost nothing that has changed. It's just been there for 40 years now, and then they they've got seating inside, outside. People like it.
Excellent.
The menu changes a lot.
Clearly passionate about this. When
You've thrown me off my game.
I'm sorry. When we drink around,
next time Dan starts.
This is the third one of these in 72 hours.
I think, in fairness, though, like the pub
48 hours
is not something that like is there to get passionate about. It's more just like a comfortable place that's old and doesn't change. And I think that Rose and Crown is that, you know?
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
I was going to say, in a lot of ways, it is a British pub. You know, it's one of those old pubs that's been there for hundreds of years, and people are comfortable with it, and it's nice. Why change it? And
it does feel like your local neighborhood pub, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we drink around the world, oftentimes I will not go into the pub. I will just go to the little bar between the check-in desk and the restaurant.
Right.
Is that considered part of the pub?
No. I mean, technically it's a separate thing. I mean, it serves some of the same. Usually they'll have bass, harp, and a cider. Guinness. Do they always have Guinness outside?
Maybe not. I don't know. I never drink it.
It's technically not attached to the building or anything, but yeah, I tend to go there rather than go inside to the pub, which is
shorter line.
Yeah, the inside at the pub, which is technically separate from the restaurant. Like that can get crazy in there because they usually have a piano player and there's lots of people just up to the bar and having a good time. It's not a quiet restaurant.
No, by any means.
Eric, if you're not including that, should I not have included the Cove Bar / Boardwalk?
Well, that's
Lounge?
kind of attached to the building. I guess here we can count it. There's a cart outside where you can buy.
Oh, it's a cart.
Well, it's a kiosk.
Okay.
It's a permanent structure.
But if it may as well be an extent. I mean, I'm Terry. I'm trying to get you when you points, but like, you may as well count it, right? I mean, I feel like it's been a long time since I've been. I feel like there are more reasons to include it than to not.
Well, the fact remains that I believe that it stands between the check-in counter for the restaurant and the restaurant. So why wouldn't it be a part of it?
Right. Yeah. We can consider it part of it. How about that?
I'm upgrading my Disney Experience app so I can look and see what it's called.
Okay.
Until then, you're all done.
Okay.
Dan, why don't you tell us the history of the Lamplight Lounge?
Well, speaking of things changing or not changing, sit down for a moment. This restaurant originally started as Avalon Cove. It's a restaurant.
Is that Wolfgang Puck?
Yes, it's a Wolfgang Puck joint. Wolfgang Puck, for people who aren't familiar, are Zoomers in the audience. First of all, once upon a time, there's a thing called TV, and people watched it. They had stories on it, kind of like longer TikToks. Sometimes there were stories. Usually it was the same story rehashed. He was born in St. Viet an der Glan, Austria. Yes, yep. I nailed it. His mother was a pastry chef and was his first cooking instructor. After his mother's remarriage, he took his stepfather Joseph Puck's surname, and this led to so much happiness and a really nice, catchy name. He trained under Raymond Thulier in prestigious locations like the Stau de Blanc in Le Beau de Provence, Hotel de Paris in Monaco. This has been Dan teach you the French. Dan teach you a wee French.
This just in.
Yes.
It's called the UK beer cart. And it is not between the check-in. It is left of the check-in, but it is the same type of architecture as the check-in booth. So I'm still calling it. It's part of it.
It counts. In 1973, at age 24, Puck moved to the United States, where all of his dreams came true. He published his first cookbook, Modern French Cooking for the American Kitchen, in 1981. Ooh, just at the same time. He has been the recipient of numerous awards, but mainly he published a bunch of cookbooks. And he has had a prolific career in television with appearances in various shows like Family Feud, Frasier, Iron Chef America, and MasterChef. He also hosted his own show, Wolfgang Puck. So he was... I'm mentioning this partially as a joke, but also at the time he was synonymous. I guess he was like pre-Gordon Ramsay. He was like a nice Gordon Ramsay in terms of like popularity. And so when they opened up California Adventure and they were like, hey, we have the Wolfgang Puck. It was actually like a thing at the time.
And Wolfgang Puck he caters the governor's ball after every Oscars. I think that's famous for that.
Yeah.
And at the time when California Adventure was designed, I think we've talked about it before, but it was trying to cater to a little more hoity-toity California upscale. There's a winery, there's Wolfgang Puck, and Disney also famously got away from managing their own dining and outsourced it.
Well, and we'll get to how that may have not really helped this place, because I found some interesting things that I didn't expect to find. So yeah, he was high profile. And Jimmy, you mentioned that he does all these catering, high profile catering things. I feel like, and this is kind of a sidebar, I feel like he's probably a victim of his own celebrity status, in a sense that I think he's kind of become he has sort of the same, people assume he's a kind of a clownish figure, sort of like Guy Fieri, where like, but they're both actually really, really good chefs. It's just like, there's so much saturation. It's just like, another one. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, he was Spago, right? That was his restaurant. That was a big famous Hollywood restaurant or whatever.
Yeah.
What he hasn't done is he hasn't gone Chef Boyardee and like, you can't get Wolfgang Puck frozen dinners. He hasn't sold out like that. I don't think.
There was a short time where you could get soup. I think that was the only line he was willing to cross. Anyway, I'm not trying to like make fun of the guy. He seems like a decent stand-up celebrity chef, but those things can take over a person's
He's a
career.
Stand-up and a celebrity chef.
Ooh.
You should hear his 20-minute set on noodles. So this was distinguished as the only table service restaurant on the boardwalk side and the only restaurant located directly on the water. Now, those are a lot of qualifiers, but it was in the article I read, so there we go. It made a departure from typical theme park food, instead offering refined dining experiences. And we'll get to the menu, but I want to talk a little bit. Well, okay, I'm not going to do... Okay, help me out. Does the ambience of this place count as the history if it is no longer...
If it's no longer the ambiance, then yes, it counts as history.
So here we go. So the building looked a lot like what you know now. Again, this is one of those places where I'm assuming that you know the park a little bit, so I'm not going to describe how the top of the swirly top looks like an ice cream cone. It largely looked the way it did now. The paint scheme was different. I'm going to get into that, but you would go downstairs from the upstairs, because that's how stairs work, and you would then go into a dining room that it had a lot of windows, so you could see the Paradise Bay, which was really nice. But inside, I guess if you've ever seen an elaborate under the sea prom scene in a movie, it kind of looked like that. You got a lot of swirly things that represent water and the plants in the water. You got kind of borderline gaudy mermaid mural in the background.
It's called foreshadowing.
Yes.
It looked like that in its original form. That's crazy.
Oh, yes, it sure did.
So are you thinking like Back to the Future Enchantment Under the Sea dance?
Yeah, like that kind of a thing. Minus the bubble machines,
Got it.
Like this
that would have been classy.
Oh, it would have been real fancy. It's like picture really, really well-funded high school, like they can afford to get, chandeliers that look like jellyfish. Classy, it kind of like it really looks to me like the kind of thing you would expect to see at one of the nicer hotels in Laughlin, where it's just like, I get what they're doing, and I'm going to order the scallops because obviously this is going to be seafood. By the way, if you live near La Mesa, California, you can experience something very similar at Anthony's Fish Grotto in La Mesa. They have a very highly themed underwater theme bar that is shockingly wonderful. Anyway, guests could enjoy panoramic views of Paradise Bay. And, you got the Ferris wheel, you got all that. Now, we also have the Cove Bar, which opened at the same time. This was upstairs, or if you're approaching the building, it's actually on the level that you are on. It's on boardwalk level, where the restaurant would be below. That doesn't change. The upper bar featured an extensive drink menu with light appetizer and dining options, while the lower area provided a premium full-scale menu. This menu also had Wolfgang Puck's food, which was kind of cool because if you just want to get a quick drink and get some of Wolfgang Puck's famous food before you put it in a can, you could do it there.
So the Cove Bar has always been there.
that bar in some form has always been there.
It would not necessarily called Cove Bar, but it's a part of the restaurant.
I think in people's hearts, it's currently called Cove Bar, but it is not actually called Cove Bar. Spiritually, I think it will always be Cove Bar for reasons that we'll get into.
I've never been.
Really?
Same.
Not that I can recall.
Oh, the three of us need to go sometime.
I've heard good things.
Yeah, and you'll understand why as I get into it. So in terms of theming there, it was like Victorian seaside stuff, but it's very similar to how it is now. But if you add more like dark wood cabinets and a giant ornate dolphin sculpture in the middle of the bar area. But keep in mind, when I say ornate, it's like in that early DCA sense of like, you look at the repeated wooden cutouts of dolphins with blue lights and you're like, I think that's supposed to be a nice sculpture, that, you know, that kind of ornate. They featured a whimsical drink menu, which included, let me open the link, such delightful high alcohol, high sugar treats as, come on, internet. We have, I'm assuming Eric's going to cut this out.
You're searching for
the Black Pearl.
Ooh.
Oh.
It's basically a Long Island iced tea with extra booze to make it a different color. And we had the Earthquake. It had vodka, gin, rum, and sweet and sour.
I get it.
Yep. And then some blue curacao and Sprite. So that's vodka, gin, and rum. Basically, these are all basically Long Island iced teas with different coloring schemes. We have the Neverland tea, vodka, gin, and rum, very much present. But sweet and sour is replaced here with peach schnapps, pineapple juice, and Sprite, while Midori lends a terrific hue of Peter Pan green. And famously the Fun Wheel, named after what was the Fun Wheel, and it's now called Mickey's Death Wheel or something like that at Pixar Pal Around. So from the bottom to the top of the Fun Wheel, we have pineapple juice, X-rated passion fruit vodka with the pink color, and then blue curacao, and then Long Island iced tea on top, all topped with soda water.
Wow.
I'm laughing because I have low blood sugar, and that would kill me. If you're into that stuff, God bless you and happy 21st birthday. So because Disney's California Adventure was not popular when it first opened, it basically was populated almost entirely by pass holders, because it was like, hey, here's this fun bar. Do we want to go downstairs? Nah, it's probably super expensive, but we know what the prices are here. So let's go to Cove Bar. So over time, the Cove Bar became like a pass holder hangout. And that might sound like a nightmare, and it probably is for some people, because pass holders, especially at that time, were some of the most obnoxious and entitled people ever. However, the bartenders kind of learned to like it and have fun with them, which a lot of the same bartenders are still there today, and a lot of that same spirit has still kind of carried on today. So
despite having like an actual pass holder bar.
Right, despite
like the Magic
that,
Key
because
thing.
no one actually goes there. It's more just like it's just like hey, let's go. It's exclusive, but that's really the only reason I go. Here, you still get the feeling of like these bartenders have learned to just really have fun with that energy of pass holders. And if you tell them that you're a pass holder, they won't like shame you and look at you weird to be like, hey, cool, welcome. It's one of the only places where you will get that. So the menu, a lot of people assumed it was super, super expensive. But here's some things. And this is just the restaurant in general. And I'm not going to go through everything. This is just to illustrate like an overall thing. We got crispy calamari, $10. Sashimi appetizer, $12. Actual sushi, spicy tuna roll, $8. And yeah, this is like 2001 prices. Let's see. In our salads, we got Cobb salad with chilled shrimp, $16. With crab meat, $18. You want your pasta? I got your pasta right here, buddy. We got linguine with clams. It's the most expensive, $16. Least expensive item in pasta, 4 cheese raviolis, $14. Main courses. Least expensive thing is grilled chicken with double blanched garlic and French fries, $16. Most
You're
expensive
not letting us
thing.
guess.
Oh, sorry.
Are you still talking about Cove Bar, or are you?
I'm talking about
Avalon.
Avalon.
Got it.
Yeah.
By the way,
Cove.
it's Lamplight Lounge Boardwalk Dining is what it's called now.
Yeah.
The Cove Bar.
Oh.
Most expensive thing. Okay, we can do guessing time. Besides, well, we had Maine lobster. That's market price. Grilled beef tenderloin. That's market price. Those are probably going to be the most expensive. But most expensive on the menu. Can you guess what it was?
The price or the menu item?
How do we want to play this? Let's say price, and then the other one will guess the menu item.
All right. What did you say the grilled chicken was? 16 something?
$16.
I'm going to say the most expensive item on the menu was $29.99.
You went over, Eric.
26.
Well, I guess I should be guessing $1, but 24.
That's the winner. It was a very reasonable $25.
God,
now,
you can't even get a hamburger for that anymore.
Can you guess the more specific you get, the closer you get to winning?
All right, $24.
$25.
$25.
What was the item?
Was that the lobster nachos?
No, those come
didn't
later.
have lobster nachos at that
Back
time.
then? Okay.
Do we have our game show music for this?
So
I've got the Asher stuff open.
yes, you got
I don't know
lobster,
what
you
you're
got
talking about.
steak. You said chicken.
I'm not saying it's not one of those.
I know. I'm just saying. What was the kind of steak? Oh, wow.
This isn't very game showy.
That's the. I must have sent you the wrong thing. I never sent the actual file. I just sent the link.
So the market price steak, what was the description of that steak?
Okay, market price is a grilled beef tenderloin and half steamed lobster with garlic mashed potatoes and drawn butter. That was the market price.
Okay, in that case, I'm going to say grilled beef tenderloin, $24, $25.
You had grilled and a form of beef. Eric, would you like to guess?
A form of beef that is not tenderloin, but is grilled. Now I'm just staring at all of these files. It's got to be a filet.
You're both wrong, and this is getting boring for the listener probably.
Yes.
Grilled New York steak béarnaise with
There you go.
potato puree and steamed asparagus. So I guess the point is that it wasn't exactly cheap, but it wasn't as mind-bendingly expensive as people kind of assumed at the time. And I remember this unlocked a weird memory in my brain where I was like, that's where memories are stored, by the way. That's where I remember kind of hearing about it and being like, this was an opportunity for people to experience Wolfgang Puck's cooking at a price that wasn't like cost prohibitive. But they didn't mention that because that's not what they were doing at the time.
But it's kind of unprecedented. If I'm remembering my Disneyland resort history, in 2001, outside of Blue Bayou, are you making dining reservations and eating fine, quote unquote, fine dining at Disney theme parks?
That's a good question. I believe that they were still doing, I think they did do reservations for this, but I'm not entirely sure.
I'm just saying that the $24 was probably pretty expensive for the time, because that was 22 years ago, mind you.
Right.
And so that was probably relatively expensive, especially for a theme park.
Well, yeah, but if you compare it to like the Soap Opera Bistro, where like a similar dish was like $30.
Okay.
You know, I'm saying it was on the higher end, but it wasn't, I think, what people
Expected
generally
it to be.
expected, because they were like, Wolfgang Puck that's got to be expensive because
You're
everything
thinking
else in this park is
Spago
expensive.
and-
Yeah. And then you're wandering around and everything's high scale and like everything is the park at the time definitely sent out the message of anything that appears expensive is going to be. And then when you see Wolfgang Puck on the sign, it's like, let's just not even look. So yeah, and it wasn't so much bad. It's just that nobody went to it because nobody went to DCA. If it opened with this version of the park, I think it would be extremely successful. However, as I will argue directly or indirectly, I think that Lamplight is a better fit. So it closed, even though it got a lot of culinary merits. It was considered a failure because it was in the park that was failing. So in an effort to bring more people in, it was transformed to Ariel's Grotto, which featured character dining, and probably didn't help at all because it was $48.58 for adults and $26.98 for children. There was a prefix menu, prefixy, as some people say.
And this is
a
before
lot of French.
This is before the ride, correct?
It was before or adjacent to on the timeline.
Okay. $25 in 2001 is equivalent in purchasing power to about $42.82 today.
Yeah. No, it's expensive, but I'm just saying that it compared to other things in the same park, it was not as expensive as those.
Gotcha.
So Ariel's Grotto was a whimsical under-the-sea themed restaurant where guests were invited by Ariel to be part of her world. It was, like I said, fixed price menu. So you got a 3-course princess character lunch or dinner. And it was popular with families. And did they change the dining room, Jimmy?
Doesn't sound
Eric?
like they have to. I think the whole point of putting Ariel in there is they already have an under the sea theme.
Incorrect. They put princess crap all over the place, but generally it was the same. So it was. My take on it is that they took this thing that seemed super expensive and nobody went to it and said, hey, let's go ahead and just make it super expensive, but cater to people who want to see any Disney character at California Adventure. And that's what they did.
But should have done Avalon v Monsters, or no, not a Superstar Limo, because they had about the same lifespan. Ariel's Grotto opened California Adventure December 20th, 2002.
Yeah.
Man, so
Avalon Cove did not last long.
Yeah.
So it has all the same stuff. You had an outdoor patio. Cove Bar barely changed it. Barely changed, except the appetizers were no longer by Wolfgang Puck because nothing was. And they introduced at that point lobster nachos, which I'm sure are good. I'm allergic to nachos. I'm allergic to lobster, so I can't eat it. But people online will not shut up about them. So if you really, really like lobster with cheese, get lobster nachos and take pictures of it because that's what you do, I guess.
Ariel's Grotto opened in 2002. Little Mermaid Voyage of the Little Mermaid opened in 2011.
Okay, so not at all adjacent. And there was a really weird period in time where Ariel's Grotto, the restaurant, and Ariel's Grotto, the meet and greet, existed at the same time.
Oh.
Yeah. Ariel's Grotto used to be where Pixie Hollow is in Disneyland.
And the Triton, the King Triton that was in Ariel's Grotto, now sits atop the ride.
Exactly. Yes. Is one of us going to mention how funny Ariel's Grotto sounds? Anyway.
Deliberately. He chose not to.
Oh, okay.
And the restaurant closed. Oh, no, that's at Disneyland. Never mind. Keep going.
Okay. So it stopped serving its slop in early 2018 to make space for new dining experiences because they were transforming Paradise Pier into Pixar Pier. For more of that, listen to our July 2022 episode with Budget Bev. We cover that extensively. So what that ended up being is, we turned it into a new restaurant called the Lamplight Lounge, which we will get into when we get into Lamplight Lounge.
Excellent. That's great. That's a great history. Just to mix things up, I am going to award the Rose and Crown a point, just one in mind, for being so timeless you don't have to change the theme.
Brilliant!
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's move on to the lobby / check-in. Eric.
Well, we've already talked about it a little bit here. There's a green wood paneled counter outside of the restaurant, and that's where you check in. There's not really much of a lobby inside because it's pretty much dining area and the pub
And bar. Yeah,
it's pretty small in there. So it's nice that they have this check-in area outside where you just walk up, you give your name.
And as you're waiting,
wander
you can
around
have
a
a
little
beer
bit.
next door.
You sure can. Yes,
Now,
at the UK beer cart.
In theory, you could do the same thing at Lamplight Lounge, right?
Good luck.
Yeah, you have to wait. Right now, it's a 10-minute wait to get in, by the way. And so I'm sorry to cut you off, Eric, but it just for whatever. Similar story at Lamplight Lounge. There's a counter outside.
There's a bar. There's the Lamplight Lounge boardwalk seating. There's no there's not a cart experience where you could go, one beer, please.
Yeah, because you have to wait.
You have to wait. Yeah. So,
but
there is
check-in.
a way. Yeah. There's a way that you could finagle it, but that would be me. If I were to say that that it's easy, it would be me just going for points. It's not impossible. You can grab a beer from another beer cart.
Yeah, good point.
But you could also do that at
point
Epcot.
was the check-in / lobby is still a podium outside where you're checking in, right?
At Lamplight?
Yeah.
It's basically, there is a podium like thing. It's generally, because it's gotten so popular, what ends up happening is you have a couple people outside with iPads that you check in with. And if you can elbow your way past the people saying what do you mean there's nothing available?
Right.
And you go, I actually have a reservation. Not to say it's an unpleasant experience, but it's very popular there. And you get a nice view of the Paradise Bay and everything, or Pixar Bay, I guess it's called now. And yeah, it's not a terrible experience. It's not an eventful experience. When you go inside, there is a lobby, but a lot of the time you're bypassing the lobby to go downstairs. So
you don't really stay there.
No.
Yeah.
Because
so
I
both
think,
of them don't really have a lobby to speak of, and both of them have an outside check-in situation.
Yeah. I think at Lamplight, the lobby,
I have checked in inside there, but not always.
Most of the time you're walking past the people at the counter who are probably there to check you in case it's slow or the people outside go on break or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very friendly, and they're just like, hey, I guess you're getting seated now. Have fun.
Yeah.
But the counter itself, I'm trying to find it in my bevy of pictures that I'm using, is made out of drawers or suitcases. I will update you when I get to it on what exactly they are. But they're whimsical. There's a lot of whimsy here.
Okay. Quite. So is that it for both of you on lobby / check-in?
Yeah, not a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah.
At Rose and Crown.
Let's move on then, without points awarded, because I would say the beer cart accessibility at Rose and Crown would be better, but I think to Dan's point, you kind of get a beer somewhere else if you don't get one there or whatever.
Well, I to be honest, I think it might be point worthy because it's right there, and you can kind of begin the experience while you're beginning the experience.
Point for Rose and Crown.
All right. Oh,
So-
thanks for arguing for me, Dan.
Brilliant!
Sure.
Well, the whole point of this thing is we collectively want the right thing to win.
Right.
Not to say that that's what he's leading to, but in fairness, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
And
nice feature.
So I'm going to describe the lobby a little bit, even though we have probably moved past it, as you tend to do when you're going there. Very dark red paint. There's some concept art from Pixar films on the walls. The check-in counter that you don't check into, but you could probably if it was slower, looks like it's made up of a bunch of drawers, which is very interesting. And then as you go downstairs, there's a very, very large window that overlooks Paradise / Pixar Pier. You get a completely clear shot of the Pixar Pal Around, which is lovely. To be honest, this place kind of tends to have, more so before they repainted it, tends to have that sort of Las Vegas in the daytime feeling where it kind of looks weird and kind of a lot of DCA is like this, where it's kind of like, yeah, but it's really made to be seen at night with the lights on.
Right. Totally.
More so than Disneyland, I think.
Right.
As you go down the stairs, there's a bunch of concept art and character art in like a very large chandelier sort of configuration, and they're all on paper and they're held together by, what are they held together by? Binder clips.
Oh, binder clips.
Bindy. So yeah, that's the lobby, but I'm mentioning it more for more detail than for points.
Yeah. I'm kind of sitting here thinking, well, yes, they have one, but it's in its current iteration is not really used, but for a conveyance to the restaurant.
Yeah, and I think the idea was, there's a couple seats there. It looks like it would be a very nice place to sit while you wait, but in terms of how it would function now, it would just be just a Karen convention in there,
Unrelated to anything point worthy. I can only picture walking, checking in and then walking down the stairs. Mm-hmm. Could I go straight and not go downstairs? And if I did, would I be able to get to anything?
You would get to the bar.
Oh, the Lamplight Lounge boardwalk.
Yep.
Okay.
Because that's how you share the bathroom.
Got it. Okay.
I've never actually gone that way.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
Is that how you share the bathroom? The bathroom's downstairs.
Bathroom's downstairs.
Yeah,
well,
that is still how you share the bathroom, though.
Okay. All right. Great. We'll get to the bathrooms later.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to ambiance, Eric.
All right. The main sign outside with the rose and the crown design on it has the slogan "Otium cug dignitate," which is Latin for leisure with dignity.
Nice.
That's the vibe at Rose and Crown. The exterior of the pub uses 4 different designs through different time periods in British history. The main portion of the building, the main entrance of the building, looks like an 1890s Victorian era building with brick and wood paneling. There's inside, the actual pub itself has a mahogany bar with a plaster ceiling that is very appropriate for that time period. There's another portion that looks more like a Dickensian era pub based on the classic pub, the classic London pub, the Cheshire Cheese. So it's a more Elizabethan style exterior. There's a flagstone terrace. That's part of that's the, I guess if you're looking at the building from the door, that's the part that's like next to it. It's back toward the water. There is also, if you continue around the building that direction, it's a more waterfront style pub. So it's a stone building with clay tile, and the lagoon, the area of the Epcot lagoon in this location is based on the Grand Union Canal, which is a quite large canal in England. I think it's it's like it's a huge waterway that has a lot of different locks in it and is used to transport goods around the city.
Eric, help me visualize what you're talking about, which direction you're going.
Okay.
So I'm standing at the check-in desk.
Mm-hmm.
Main entrance is to my right.
Correct.
And that was the first thing you described. And now you're going towards the fish and chip cart as you're describing.
I'm walking No, I'm actually walking toward the waterfront on the left side of the building. So
the building's still to my right, and what you're describing is as I go further to the water, that's what the different architecture styles are.
Correct.
Are there windows?
There are windows.
So here's what I'm thinking is just as a comparison is the Christmas shop in Magic Kingdom. We described when we did the episode about Liberty Square that it's meant to look like and represent 4 different shops or 3 different shops, but it's all one thing. Is that a similar vibe here?
Yeah. And if you stand back and you look at the building, it looks like multiple buildings kind of stitched together. So that's kind of a general vibe around the UK in general.
Right.
Is
trying to encompass as much of the UK as you can by pulling in different architecture styles.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it looks like it could be multiple buildings, kind of like the Christmas shop, but it is just this one location.
Okay.
So yes, around the back is the waterfront pub with more stone. If you continue on the main walkway and don't go into the building, the next area is a more country style pub. That's more 17th and 18th century style. There's slate roof. The surface of the building is all plaster, and it's kind of aged, kind of yellowed plaster. And it's got those kind of stone corners. Of course, Dan and I are both describing a lot of visual things here on this episode, which is great. But they extend that design all the way over to the Yorkshire Country Fish Shop, which is further down the walkway where they sell their very popular fish and chips outdoors.
Great.
Inside,
I'm looking at pictures now.
Okay. Yeah, inside, it's just a very kind of homey, cozy sort of place. The bar, like I mentioned, is all mahogany, but there's a lot of wood around everywhere. There are newspaper articles. There are lots of random artifacts on the walls. Not a TGI Fridays amount of stuff on the walls, but yeah, there's a lot of dark aesthetic. The floors are largely wood. There's some tiled floor that has some cool, 70s sort of designs. At least that's the way it looks to me. They've got a lot of steins, a lot of different beer mugs around the room. They've got a dart set, the sort of things that you would expect to see at a pub owned by just, maybe an old couple that's been there forever, and they just have a lot of their family stuff around, a lot of pictures of the family, a lot of random things that they've accumulated over the years. It's just a pleasant and calm space, even though it's probably going to be noisy and has a lot of people singing and laughing at the front.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just looking at pictures, having only been to the bar and never into the dining room. I didn't know what to expect. So I will reserve judgment until I hear about Lamplight Lounge. I do like that ceiling.
Yeah, the ceilings are, it's another...
Can you eat the ceiling, Jimmy?
Wow. Is it made of popcorn?
But yeah, there's a lot of natural light coming in, windows everywhere. It's a fun place.
Yeah. And did you find any stories about things on the wall or any kind of Disney related anything, or there's a artifact from King Henry VIII that's on the mantle or anything like that? I've seen mentions that there are nods to Disney things, but I haven't found any like close-ups of anything that would lead me to say, oh yes, this is clearly a, Robin Hood mention or a Sword in the Stone mention. I haven't really seen anything like that anywhere. And I don't have any personal pictures that would give me any particular revelation. So,
but
I can't really speak to that.
Given that it's in Epcot and built at the time that it was built in Epcot, I don't know that one would expect to find Disney stuff necessarily.
Yeah, it's a good point, because it was like famously no Mickey Mouse.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm just saying that because I kind of don't care which one wins the more we do this, which is a nice place to be in. Because I know what I'm about to say. There's a ton of Disney crap on the walls, and I think that the inclination could be to give it more points because Rosencrown doesn't have Disney crap on the walls. I would argue that shouldn't be a penalty for Rosencrown.
Yes. Did you know that Walt Disney World definitely put some work into this wonderful restaurant? Did you know that molded glass found throughout the whole pub is from England?
I did
the
not
history
know that.
behind the glass is that it is handmade so that people can see out of the pub, but people on the outside cannot see in.
So many secret things can happen.
This is just one small detail that makes this place so magical. Be sure to ask your server about the hidden gems, including hidden Mickeys.
Oh, good.
Did you ask your server?
Those weren't there when the pub opened, I guarantee.
Yeah, probably not.
They might be. Because remember when hidden Mickeys were just something I talked about with somebody?
Like truly hidden?
Yeah, and it wasn't like a book. I mean, I feel like, and that's probably why I'm so negative about hidden Mickeys. Is it's like, it's more fun if it's just like a, hold on, is that? Oh, there's one, you know?
Yeah. Yes, indeed. So this particular article says the ambiance of this restaurant is both fun and relaxing and fun. The pub is located on the water. There's outside seating by the water and also inside seating with views of the World Showcase Lagoon. Every evening, there's live music that provides a lively ambiance for people of all ages.
Great.
Yeah. All right. I'll reserve judgment till Dan goes.
Well, I had a really interesting and fun in-show moment of discovery because as Eric was talking, I was thinking, like, how do I describe the decor of this place in a succinct way? And then I started thinking, like, it kind of feels like every gastropub that my brother-in-law has ever taken us to, and they live kind of by Silicon Valley. And I was like, wait a minute, Pixar, Silicon Valley, is this a gastropub? And I typed in DCA Lamplight Lounge gastropub, and sure enough, in the description on disneygo.com.askjeeves.googleexplorer.com, it said gastropub. So there's the connection that we never found.
That's interesting. Do you think that's legit? Do you think it's legitimately because of Pixar, because of a campus where it's located, and the breadth of
I haven't done the hard research to make those connections, but based on all of the places, because they live very close to Silicon Valley. They live basically where the people in Silicon Valley live that don't want to live in Silicon Valley. And they go to the places that those people go to. And I'm not joking. Every single one of these places that Oren has taken us to, he's into these places. He loves gastropubs. He loves that. That's his thing. And it's always like, we're going to go to this gastropub that does this. We're going to go to a gastropub that does this. This is because
they've all got like a hook.
Yeah, this is the gastropub that does this with pork rinds. This is the gastropub that does this with pilgrim buckle hats. You know.
Now Dan's going to tell us the history of gastropub.
I am not.
Okay.
So,
but it's another thing. Sorry, Dan. It's another thing that is another sort of similarity that reiterates the fact that these two things are equal.
Yeah.
Is that one is the food, the menu is based on the location in which it's set, which is Pixar.
Yeah, it was just
Emeryville.
From Silicon Valley. Yeah,
right. And same with the UK menu.
Right.
So yeah, keep going.
So it basically, if you were to tell me that there is absolutely no connection to these places with Pixar Pier with Lamplight Lounge, I would be like, you got to be kidding me, because there's I didn't have in this aha moment the time or inclination to make that connection, but I can basically guarantee you that connection will be found. So to little shortcut for anyone listening to this, if you want to in your browser just type in a Google search for gastropub and then even out every single thing that you see to like one thing.
Average it.
Average it all out. Take out the stuff that's especially Rosencrowny and add the stuff that's especially like gearing towards exposed brick and like an open air sort of feel. That's Lamplight Lounge. Lamplight Lounge. And I'm not saying that in a dismissive way of like it sucks because of that. It is shockingly accurate. In fact, like just if you scroll through the first few pictures, it's like, oh, that is basically Lamplight Lounge. So just in case you don't feel like doing that, you go down the stairs, there's kind of a secondary lobby. You see a whole bunch of Luxo balls that are lit up. And then you go into the main dining area, which kind of consists of a few sections, but is generally just a very large room. There's between the bar that connects the outside dining area with the inside dining area and some very large doors. It's basically like an open wall facing Pixar / Paradise Pier. And there's, again, exposed brick and the back, what I'm going to call the back wall, wood ceiling, a lot of exposed support beams. And on those back walls, there are kind of sections. You got the Ratatouille and Coco section. You got the Nemo and Wall-E section. You got the Toy Story and a few. And by section, what I mean is they have on the walls kind of a mix of a lot of different things. There's concept art. There's different versions of movies that they didn't make, like Inside Out. In some settings called Vice Versa. So they have the poster for that. They have what's his face's achievement badges from the movie that I've never watched, Up. And also, Jimmy, if you can remember, just as an example of the kind of stuff they have entry level nerdy stuff, which is, a poster in another language. And then they have like deep divey nerd stuff and everything in between.
Yeah. And the reason I asked Eric about, nuances of the restaurant is because I knew we were going to get here. And this is something I find
just packed with it,
particularly fascinating. There's in the Wall-E section, there's a costume of everyone on the Halcyon or whatever they're on. They all have the same uniform on, and there's an actual physical costume on the wall of that model. There's a swimming fin. I think maybe the mask from I don't know.
From the mask,
like the Coco guitar, the model of the guitar. But I think what was the coolest thing is I was asking a cast member what all these things were on the wall. What did it meant? And the thing I thought was the coolest on the wall for the Toy Story section, which was of course the first fully animated computer generated film, right? Mm-hmm. There is a board, like a 2x4 with 2 boots secured to the board. And what I found out is that is the actual, not a model, but an actual what they used to model the army men from Toy Story. So they would have the actor get into those boots that are secured to a board and walk around.
To show what that movement's like.
Yeah, what would it look like if you're a toy soldier where your feet are literally stuck to a piece of plastic? And that's how they modeled the army men for Toy Story. And that's on the wall in this restaurant. And for that reason, I'm going to award it a point.
But you blew my mind.
Well, and one of the things I love about that specific detail is that it's not just about movement, but it's also about standardized the distance between the feet, which for a toy would be important because they're all coming out of a mold, Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of that. I need to regular listeners to the show. There's a lot of that crap that I would normally dismiss as crap. And I still love the place. It's done in a way that is, it's just barely under the top.
Yeah.
Like
it's
add
subtle
one
enough.
add one more thing and it's over the top.
Right.
So that's the main dining area. Again, in terms of how the seating is, just look up any gastropub. They get from the same supplier, I'm sure. There is also the outside dining area, which has several very large tables where you can there's like a fireplace connected, so you can melt the ice in your drinks while you eat your food. Also, you can stay warm while it's cold outside.
It oftentimes gets chilly on the water there.
Yeah, it's something a lot of people don't realize about Southern California is that even in the summer it gets chilly
at night. Yeah,
mainly by comparison, but yeah.
Right. So help me with this, both of you. This is a sidebar. As we try to be as objective as possible, it's sometimes really hard to not bring some subjectivity in this. And,
I think this is a place where subjectivity is going to have to enter.
Oh, yeah. And so that's why I kind of want to make this a consensus. Both of these restaurants have an indoor dining component with things on the wall of various significance, right?
Yeah, and in terms of one-to-one, it's pub to Disney stuff.
Yeah, pub to, exactly. Yeah. And then both have an outdoor seating with spectacular views of things that are really cool.
Yeah.
If it's not the World Showcase, it's the Mickey's Fun Wheel, Pixar Pier, and that just anything on the water, all that pretty
stuff.
Yeah.
So, which is better?
I'm gonna.
This is why I had difficulty envisioning this comparison, because they're vastly different vibes.
Lamplight,
you're right, Jimmy. There's a lot that's very similar about them, just in their function.
Lamplight, you are not next to the water. You are outside on top of the water.
On top of the water, yeah.
So like you're basically in the middle of Paradise / Pixar Pier, which
that's interesting.
I mean, there's it's a panoramic view all around you of said pier. Granted, hearing the kid from Incredibles count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 every 10 seconds.
Over and over again. Oh, you shouldn't have brought that up.
Yeah, well, whatever. I don't care.
No, you're fine. Well, here's what I'm going to say then, Dan. Rather than deciding which view is better, because it's subjective, because, would you rather look at Mexico's pyramid, or would you rather look at the pal around or whatever it is? The fact that it's the only one at that park that you can experience this water view in this kind of environment, I will say that it's better. Whereas at Epcot, you can do it 3 different places.
Okay, that's fair. Also, would you rather be in that environment in Florida or Southern California?
Well, I wanted to take size and geography out of the equation.
Right.
And so, because I was going to say there's more water at Epcot, there's more things to look at,
right,
but that's not Disneyland's fault.
Yeah.
And also I would much rather be on any given evening, I would much rather be at Lamplight Lounge outside.
Yeah.
Than I would be at the Rose and Crown.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's refreshing to be in the shade in Florida.
Yeah,
but
that's
still,
the thing. It's covered. Yeah.
It's not going to be the most comfortable place to sit outside every single night. There's going to be a good chunk of the year where it's still pretty stifling and gross out.
Before I award points, are we been generally done with the restaurant and the ambiance?
I have a couple more things.
Okay.
You have, if you're listening to this, you have most likely heard about the secret dining room, the secret room. It's been covered online. I'm just going to tell you there is a secret room. It is hard to access, and it is, from what I can tell, actually a random selection. They can fit, I think, up to 13 people in there, and there's games and other places that haven't almost reached 3 hours or 2 hours rather have gone into great detail. If you want to learn more about it, please do. It's pretty cool. From what I can tell, it is actually random as far as who's selected to be in there, but I get the feeling that it's random in the same way that like getting selected to pilot the Mark Twain is, where it's like, I think there's an N, but I haven't figured out what it is yet.
Am I remembering correctly that when we went there as a large group, we asked to be in that room? And
yes.
Am I remembering correctly that they looked at us like we had elephant ears?
I think they said that there was a party currently in there.
Okay. But they didn't deny that it was a thing.
No, it's an open secret at this point. And
is it worth a point?
I don't know. if anyone is going to give it a point, I think you're the one of the three of us to do it because you like exclusive things. But that's not necessarily an argument for or against it. I think so. Okay, trying to get a point out of it from your inclination specifically. I think just that it exists, and even if you're not in it, it's a story you can tell. I don't know. If I was judging, I think I'd be. I don't know if I would give it. I think I would probably give it a point. Maybe not though.
It feels point worthy. I mean, it fits in with the rest of the theme at Lamplight, where it's just so amped up. Everything is very. Everything has a story. Everything has significance. Everything's trendy and interesting looking, and to have a secret room that's not so secret is pretty fun.
Yeah, and if you're the family that gets selected to be in there, and they give you the room for like 2 hours, if you're selected to be in there and you didn't know it was there, Lamplight Lounge immediately is your favorite restaurant at Disneyland.
Yeah. I'm looking at the door. It's like this really cool.
Oh yeah, it's actually
electrical panel.
There's actually a secret code to get in. Like it is actually a secret room.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right, I'm gonna give it a point for that.
But you blew my mind.
Huh.
And so, so there's that. There's also, you can watch World of Color if you're there late enough. They don't have like formal World of Color dining seating. If we're being really honest, it's probably not the best angle to watch World of Color from, but if you've seen it before, it's probably a very fun, cool experience because you're basically like as close to the show as you can get, but you have a ceiling above you, so you're not pummeled with water constantly.
I'm gonna say that the two sort of negate each other.
Yeah, no, I agree.
As the nighttime spectaculars of all.
I agree. And in fact, if I'm in the judge chair, which we're going for consensus on this, I think from what I hear, when Illuminations or whatever version of that show is not screens and barges, it's a really, really good place to watch whatever is in that.
Yeah, it was a bad place to watch Harmonious because you're at exactly the wrong angle to see the biggest screen.
But there was no real good place to watch Harmonious.
No,
to my knowledge.
No, that was the biggest
one specific thing.
Yeah, from what I understand, that the Rose and Crown. I guess if we're looking at a good place to watch would, to my mind, be if it's your first time seeing it, it will at least be as good as anywhere else. And I think for World of Color, it doesn't reach that. I haven't seen it from there, but I know the angles, and I wouldn't take someone to see it for their first time there.
And to your point, it's kind of in the middle of it in a way.
But so if you're looking for that, like, hey, let's do something. I've seen World of Color, a bunch of times. I'm hungry. Hey, let's go see what this is like. It's a good, let's go see what this is like kind of experience, I would imagine. Sort of like when you could watch Fantasmic from that weird dock by the Mark Twain dock. It's like you don't really see the show. You kind of see the show. But there's some fun aspect of at least having that experience. Again, it could be a great view of World of Color. I don't think it would be, though.
As I recall, you could see sort of the backstagey elements from that view.
Yeah, the way they
see the barges before they go on, and
they jump in and out of character suddenly. It's actually really cool. So, I think I would even argue for point for Rose and Crown in that direction.
Yeah, well, right now Epcot Forever. I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I'm not sure.
Epcot Forever is still it's not quite as. I've only seen it the once, but Illuminations was perfect because it was designed to be seen from every single angle.
Yeah.
Epcot Forever is similar.
Okay.
It does have some areas where, as I recall, they were better to watch it from, but
I will reserve judgment in perpetuity because inexperience across the board. None of us have done this at all, so it's all speculation.
That's fair.
I won't award a point for speculation.
That's fair. There is also one last dining area, and it's very tiny in that it is just a single seat, where you
Talk about exclusive.
Exclusive, but less exclusive. Remember those giant light up Luxo balls I talked about when you come down the stairs? Well, just on the other side of that is a very large seat table rather, that in only in shape kind of resembles the Pope room at Buco di Beppo, where it's like it was a very, very, very big booth. And kind of like that Pope room, there's no, like Pope head or anyone's head, but like it's kind of devoted to, from what I can tell, Toy Story. In that, because again, it was the first one. And it's kind of, you were just like dining in the middle of Toy Story stuff. There's drawings on the wall. There's things like little illustrations of actual toys that these things were inspired by. There's cars. Oh, there's cars on the table under the glass, little toy cars, like actual toy cars. So it looks like the idea of that experience or that seating area it's kind of where we merge the inspiration with the inspired, like it has, this is what this was inspired by, and then it turned into this. And there's just a bunch of Luxo balls. I would imagine for some person or several people, that would be a wonderful, wonderful experience. I'm not that person, but it looks cool enough to me.
Yeah. I'm looking at it. So the Luxo balls are behind you.
Yeah, behind you if you're seated, or to the side depending. But yeah, that's like you enter the booth from the other side of the lit up Luxo balls.
Interesting.
And of course, there's bar seating. They do a thing at Disneyland Resort that I don't particularly love, but I understand, where reservation or not, you might end up at the bar, which also means that you can't walk up and go to an empty chair at the bar if you want to.
That was my question. So, because at Rose and Crown, you cannot sit at the bar.
Right.
You can belly up, get a drink, and move on.
Yeah.
Can you just walk into Lamplight and get a seat at the bar if it's
you
available?
Cannot.
No.
And upstairs, it's kind of dodgy, kind of hit and miss. By the way, upstairs at the bar outside upstairs, it's kind of a limited menu, but you can still get your beloved lobster nachos. They have a full drink menu. From what I've experienced, there's always a wait, like a standby wait of some kind. However, if you very politely, in my experience, if you very politely point out, look, I'm just one person or I'm just two people, can I get the next open seat at the bar? I feel like the policy is not to absolutely always say yes, but they will sometimes, if you find that the cast member, they will, more often than not, they will say, okay, yeah, there's one opening up over there.
So we've gotten to somewhere that's unprecedented thus far in this conversation, in that we had the comparison of proximity to get a beer while you're waiting for your table in the UK beer cart. But now we're talking about virtually a separate establishment. So are we going to compare that in some way in this conversation?
It's the same menu, just limited.
So I'm thinking of GCH Craftsman Grill. And then the pub version of it. Is that similar, do you think?
No, it's more the same. It's way more the same. Because GCH there's one place where all the bar stuff happens, and then they use the same kitchen.
Right.
And then there's another place. It's not the same.
Okay.
It's basically, think of it as the Lamplight Boardwalk experience is kind of like an abridged version of the Lamplight thing. It's more like I don't want or need to have a full sit down meal. It's more just like, hey, I'm going to go get a drink at this place with some appetizers
and get some lobster nachos.
How
do we compare this? In that, because we've already brought the Boardwalk Cafe into the conversation when we compared it to the UK beer cart, do we now have to say that because if you want to go to Rose and Crown and eat, you have to go to the Rose and Crown and eat. If you want the essence of Rose and Crown, you can't get it outside of the beer cart. So if I want to go to Lamplight, but it's too full.
Couldn't you at the bar? If you wanted to get food at the bar, could you?
I don't think so.
It has in the past. Let me check how it is now.
You can go down the street and get fish and chips, which I'm sure is on the menu, which we'll find out shortly. But it's not the Rose and Crown. So here we have a situation where I didn't get a reservation for Lamplight, but I can stand here for 10 minutes and get my lobster nachos and get my gastropub fix.
I think it's more the approach of, I like the Lamplight Lounge as an establishment. I like the view. I like the secret menu drinks that are just the old drinks that you could drink a lot of sugar with. It's more like I want to go there. I want to have that experience, but I really just want the lobster nachos. So I'm not going to go through the hassle of trying to get a reservation.
So does that make the Lamplight Lounge with the boardwalk extension, does that make it better than Rose and Crown?
Depends. It depends on what you like on the menu, because one of my favorite items on the menu is not available at the bar.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's your take on it, Eric?
Well, let's see. So Rose and Crown Pub, the lounge area does not have food. It's just drinks.
There's a lounge area?
Well,
like the bar,
the pub part.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. In Disney terms, it's a lounge.
Yeah.
The most popular menu item is fish and chips, which you can get outdoor.
Yeah, but that's not connected
down the
to
way.
Rose and Crown, so I wouldn't count it.
Yeah. I mean, you could almost argue, it is the same building, but it is a separate establishment. But
I think now would be a good time to just admit and acknowledge rather that as we get into the hotel and especially the restaurant matchups, this is going to get increasingly weird.
Yeah,
which is it's fine.
It's hard to compare. I guess to kind of counter with Dan, if Dan is saying that he's got his favorite food item and he can go to the casual place outside and get his favorite food item, what if your favorite food item is just a beer? You can walk right in and you can experience the feel of the bar.
That's a good point.
You can have entertainment from the piano player inside, and you can have the drink that you want, or you could get it. And you can get there's only 3 taps outside, but you can get something out there too.
Yeah.
By the way, if we're looking for consensus, I need to add no piano player, but that could be a good or a bad thing depending on what you're looking for.
If you like,
Eric, do you have anything about that that piano player that had been there forever? It was a lady, I think. She passed away.
I don't have anything on her other than my memory now that you mention it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. There was one woman that was there for so long.
All right. Well, in that case, what I'm going to do is in the interest of moving on, I'm just going to let it negate itself, because we could argue this point over and over again.
That's fair.
What menu items, and my favorite menu items, a beer, and I just want a bass or whatever it is. So let's move on from that. And I'll let you finish your ambiance, Dan, if you're not already.
I believe I am close enough that we can just say I'm done.
Okay. We have low scores because I'm the judge. Currently, it's tied at 2, and I feel like I was going to award Lamplight with a point, and I don't remember what it was for. So I'm going to reserve that point.
I think it was and I stepped on you by rambling about, my post-point ramble that I tend to do.
Let me tell you why I deserve that point.
I'll tell you why I don't know why I do that. I can't help it. I think it was you would much rather be outside by the water at night.
What I was trying to avoid, though, Dan, was I wanted to avoid size and climate. That's why I didn't give it a point for that. I gave it a point for the secret room.
Yes. Okay.
That's right.
But I think that the reserved point, yes, Dan, if we're tied when we're done, the reserve point will go to Lamplight, because I'd rather go there.
Okay, that's fair.
I'd rather go there in general. I would rather be in Southern California in this environment if we're going to be outside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just one last thing about the bar, because I forgot to mention, they removed the fake ice sculpture. It's now just kind of general, vague Victorian seaside resort kind of stuff. But there are some pictures of Pixar characters in other settings saying like, hey, good luck with the bar or whatever. But again, that's that falls into that comparison of pub stuff versus Disney stuff. And they're both kind of just doing what they intended to do.
Can I not sit at the other side? The restaurant,
You can't.
I'm talking about outside. Is there not an outside pass-through bar?
It's all one at Lamplight.
Yeah.
It's all one thing. There's the inside downstairs. There's a very, very large bar that's like one of those where like the bartenders are kept in a cage, where
they've got two sides to take care of.
Yeah. Well, they have four sides. They're taking care of
that's
like the whole thing.
Yeah.
That whole thing can be open to the outside, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Can it close?
I'm sure it
It
can.
must be able to. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Anyway.
I think there's no hurricanes. So
Yeah. Fair enough.
But yeah, as in my experience, there's no such thing as, hey, I just want to go sit at the bar at Lamplight Lounge. Which
Well, there is. It's upstairs.
it's upstairs, but
In a
not
way.
downstairs where,
Right.
Yeah.
The restaurant we're talking about.
Right.
Right.
And and the flip side of that is I have a reservation for my, group of 3 or 4. I'm expecting to get a table and I'm sitting now at the bar top and we have to do that weird thing where we talk across
that's the
the third
worst.
person.
Mhm.
So
Okay. Well, let's move on with knowing that we have a little point in reserve. Let's move on to the menu. So let's try to speed through this a little bit just in the interest of listener boredom.
pretty sure that won't be hard from this point on.
Okay.
Right.
Great. So Eric, go ahead and tell us about the menu at the Rose and Crown.
Okay.
Your attention, please.
The wrongs we must right. The fights we must win. The future we must secure together for our nation. This is what's in front of us. This determines what's next for all of us. We are Marines. We were made for this.
And we're back. Hope you enjoyed that advertisement for thing. All right. Now we're going to get into the menu. We're going to start with the drink menu at the Rose and Crown, and then we'll move on.
All right. And before that, Jimmy, you asked about the pianist in the bar. Her name is Carol Stein, who she played piano at the Rose and Crown for 32 years.
Right.
I forgot that. She retired last year.
Okay, so she didn't pass away. She just retired.
She just retired. Yes,
not from life, but from the bar.
Correct. She retired from the bar. But yeah, she was. She really was a lot of fun because she'd play a lot of Disney songs, of course, and she'd play a lot of just British pub songs. But she'd have all these little things worked in, and she'd get the crowd really involved and get them yelling things and singing along. She was really engaging. So
32 years.
Yeah. I'm not sure what they're doing with that piano now.
Hopefully, it's been a minute since I've been in there.
Oh, they should have a dueling piano show because those are so fun.
Dan loves dueling piano.
That's next door at
the most fun
boardwalk.
At the boardwalk.
Okay, so let's talk about the drink menu.
Let us talk about the drink menu. That's me taking a drink of my cherry Coca-Cola Zero, which you can't get on the drink menu, but you can get regular Coke Zero at the Rose and Crown. Let's talk about all the other fountain beverages you can. No.
So it's just a beer bar?
No, you can get
liquor.
Yeah, there is some liquor. They have a few specialty cocktails. They have. So let's just start with that.
I think that's the point. So both are bars, both have liquor, both have beer. So let's just say that that negates itself. So now we're just talking about specialty cocktails.
Right.
And I think Rose and Crown is going to have a lot of a certain kind of beer, where Lamplight is going to have a lot of California beer.
Right.
They kind of, I would imagine,
they equal each other out.
Yeah.
California beer because it's a California park, UK beer because it's UK park or whatever. Okay.
Yeah. And it fits that theme. The specialty cocktails are typical Disney sort of things, like Tim was saying, basically all versions of Long Island iced teas and such.
But please don't get drunk at our establishment.
Right.
They do have a drink called the Leaping Leprechaun, which is that's the. It's I don't know. It's Irish whiskey, it's rum, it's vodka, it's melon liqueur, sweet and sour, and Sprite. That's their
green things that get you drunk.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
There's also the Welsh Dragon, which is I'm imagining. I think it is green. It's peach schnapps, melon liqueur, creme de menthe, orange juice, pineapple juice.
I feel like that one tastes like an old lady.
The one that played at the piano.
There you go. They've got a cider and fireball, which fireball whiskey and cider doesn't sound great to me, but hey,
no.
The Pim's Cup is
not from the UK.
No, it is not.
Well, no, you have cinnamon
it's got Irish whiskey in there too.
Apple, right?
Apples. The Strongbow cider is from the UK.
Yeah, good point.
There's a Pim's Cup, which is pretty good. Pim's number one is a British gin-ish herbal drink.
That's pretty typical for British pubs.
Yes.
Also star of the Avengers. Pim.
That's
right. The Pim's Cup.
Cup.
Do not confuse it with a Pimp Cup, which is a different type of cup.
It's a goblet.
Wow.
Goblet with jewels on it.
Bejeweled goblet.
But
so they have the Leaping Leprechaun. Do they have the limey libation?
Oh my. Sure, because they've got an extensive collection. I mean, not gigantic, but they've got 6 different Scotch whiskeys that are pretty. I mean, pretty decent whiskeys, like Oban 14 years. I really like that one. There's Johnny Walker Blue, which is their most expensive. You want to guess how much 2 ounces of Johnny Walker Blue will get you?
$125.
All right. Say it separately.
$125.
Dan?
I guessed 50, and if you add them together, it's 175. So that's my new guess.
You're both over.
Oh.
It's only $40.50. Yeah.
Still. For 2 ounces.
There's also a Macallan 18 year for the same price.
I was going to say.
By the way, for fans of math, it's $20 per ounce.
Thank you, Dan. They've got some cognac. They've just some Courvoisier. But the main attraction at the Rose and Crown is beer. They have many different beers. You can get them in an imperial pint, which is a little over a half liter. So that's good. How much, Dan, would you pay for an imperial pint of beer?
What kind of beer?
Well, would you like me to list the beers that they have?
No,
I'm just saying pick one.
Old Speckled Hen.
Oh, my favorite.
They're all the same price.
$22.
Yeah. I'm with him on this one.
$10.50.
What?
Yeah.
For a half liter?
An imperial, if it's a real imperial pint, yes.
Huh. I'm paying $18 for the same thing at the Craftsman or whatever. At the bar at DCA?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. It can't be a real imperial pint, can it?
No.
It's definitely a larger. It's not a regular pint glass, though.
So I'm looking at Belching Beaver Phantom Bride, which is actually one of my favorite beers. $12.25 for what I imagine is a pint at Lamplight.
Okay, interesting. Well, yeah. So there you go. They've got one of the things that the bar is also known for are pub blends. So blends of cider and beer and other things. So you can get something kind of standard, like a half and half. That's a pretty regular blend. That's Harp Lager and Guinness Stout. But you can also get shandies, so lager with Sprite in it. Normally a shandy is like lemonade, but sometimes you see it with a Sprite type drink. You can get your cider with juice in it, or you can get your cider with lager in it. That's a snake bite. You can get the Irish Hen, which I like. That's half Old Speckled Hen and half Guinness. All of these blends are, the intent for most of them, especially if you've got the Guinness in there is to have it layered so it looks
Right.
like two separate things. It doesn't work on all of these, I'm sure, but they've got quite a bunch of different selections. And then they have specialty coffees that have liquor in them, and they've got precisely 6 wines if you want something like, if you really insist on having wine in the UK, go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So it doesn't sound like anything overly distinctive that, you could pour 2 beers together at Lamplight also if you wanted to. If they have Guinness or whatever.
But these are all British beers.
Right.
And that's what they're going for, and that's what they deliver on.
All right. So nothing like you got to go to Rose and Crown, and if you go there, you got to get this thing.
No, nothing. Yeah, there's not like a super
signature.
Yeah, nobody's posting Instagram shots of, hey, you got to try this, unless it's just they're impressed by a layered beer.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Dan.
Okay. At Lamplight, we have all sorts of California beers that I'm not going to mention because, of course, they do. Some of the drinks that I have chosen kind of just because they were the ones on top. Final with a Fix. you gotta, I mean, there doesn't seem to be any organization to it. So it's like, I guess the ones on top.
Sure.
These are all around close enough to $17. $16.25 is the cheapest, but the highest is $17. So let's say $16.50. Final with the Fix. We got Green Bar IXA or IXA. I'm having language issues in this episode. Reposado Tequila, Raspberry Liqueur, Contro, Fresh Lime Juice, Agave Nectar, and a spritz of Del Maquay Vida Mezcal. That's how you say it.
Yeah, that's how you say that one.
I should also note that they have a lot of fresh ingredients that are all kind of, and that's like part of it is the whole like, hey, I'm going to actually squeeze the life out of this fruit.
They murder a fruit for your entertainment.
Yeah, they do fruit murder right in front of you for your delight.
Wow.
Open Ocean with a Splash, a frozen cocktail made with Bacardi raspberry rum, Bull's Blue Curacao, Liquid Alchemist Orgeat. That's how you say that. Orgeat, sure. Agave Nectar and Fresh Lime Juice. You got a Morning Glory. You got Tito's Handmade Vodka with Spicy Bloody Mary Mix. Dill Pickle Brine. Oh, that sounds good. Oh, I'm going to get that. Sorry. Hi, listener. I really like disgusting things. Handmade vodka, Spicy Bloody Mary Mix, Dill Pickle Brine, and a dash of celery bitters. And then the sequel, Absolute Citron Vodka, Bacardi Superior Rum, and Liquid Alchemist Passion Fruit, Fresh Lime Juice, and Agave Nectar. You can also get the secret menu drinks, which were the whimsically named, whimsically colored versions of Long Island iced teas that have, like, I don't know, Kool-Aid or something in them, depending on the drink you're getting.
All right. So here's what I'm going to say. Both of these restaurants have an array of local, quote unquote, beer.
Mm-hmm.
They have wine and they have liquor, and those liquor drinks are sort of themed to the location.
Right. Now, do we want the wine list now or with the food menu?
You mean the wine list as described by the Ears Up sommelier?
Yes, yeah. Our new sommelier, everyone's favorite real and cool sommelier.
I wonder, do we want him to do it in edit, or do we want him to do it now?
Let's just do it now
while we listen. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead. Asher, our Supreme Resort sommelier, please tell us about the wine lists at Lamplight Lounge. Thank you.
Aloha. I'm going to be your sommelier tonight. My name is Asher and I'm a real 10-year-old who is cool just like you. Here is a list of the fancy purple stuff for fancy adults. Karl Graf Riesling, from Germany. A lightly sweet Riesling, with notes of crispy yellow and green apples, and a lively, mouth-watering finish. It pairs well with chicken dunks Lunchables. Sogelblosser Pinot Gris, from Willamette Valley, Oregon. A crisp, dry, and refreshing Pinot Gris that shows complex notes of mineral, citrus, spice, and figure. I think you'll find it goes well with the meat bread meat sandwich. Grassini Family Vineyard Sauvignon Blanc, from Santa Barbara, California. This wine has a lovely softness and roundness to the finish, which beautifully balances the bright acidity. So if you're an adult who likes to drink acid, drink up. Silverado Chardonnay, from Carneros, California. It features aromas of citrus, vanilla, pineapple with floral undertones and a note of creme brulee. A light to medium body with vanilla, citrus and apple flavors. No wonder it is considered the crown jewel of Carneros. Bella Grace Vineyards Bella Rosé, from Amador County, California. This wine is produced in the heart of the Val d'Abiadene Prosecco Superiore zone, in the town of Cal San Martino. Pour it on your lobster nachos for a real treat. Eloan Pinot Noir, from Willamette Valley, Oregon. Intense structure and vibrant acidity differentiates this cool climate Pinot Noir from any California rival. Long Meadow Ranch Merlot, from Napa Valley, California. That's where they invented Napa, so it's dumb and tastes like a butt. Everleigh Steinbeck Vineyard Syrah, Paso Robles, California. A red wine from Paso Robles, San Luis Obispo County, California, United States. This wine has 135 mentions of black fruit notes. Try it with extra cheesy pizza Lunchables or those gross Trader Joe's hippie Cheetos. Ghost Block Zinfandel, from Napa Valley, California. The chef has assured me that the wine is not haunted, even though the name is scary. Silverado Cabernet Sauvignon, from Carneros, California. A red wine from Napa Valley, Napa County, California, United States.
Yeah.
This wine has 1,207 mentions of black fruit notes. Count them all as you drink away your ability to count. An Astoria Prosecco, from Italy. Now that's a spicy meatball. Boner apes it.
Boner aped it, indeed. Thank you, Asher.
Wow. Wow.
Asher.
He's as good at pronouncing words as Dan.
Yeah. I guess I'm also really cool.
We're all doing great today.
Yeah,
all
so
doing great.
I was looking at both menus to see if there was like a souvenir cup you could take home, but I don't see it on either.
There are souvenir steins at the one that I'm talking about. See, great. Now I'm part of it too.
Rose and Crown.
Rose and Crown. Yeah, they have souvenir steins, so it's $15 instead of $10.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's not a terrible markup.
Really isn't.
No, it's pretty good.
Huh. Dan, any souvenir mugs that you're aware of?
I'm sure you could like offer them some money for, hey, could you put it in that bowl over there? But no.
Can I take this regular clear glass home with me? Just slip it in your bag.
Okay, so let's move on to the dining, the food.
Any judgment on our drink options? Or
Well, I think the only thing, again, like I said, they both have beer and liquor with themed to their locations. So I didn't hear anything that was like, knock my socks off kind of thing. Outside of maybe I can get a souvenir beer stein for $5, which I think is a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I mean, Rose and Crown isn't going to knock your socks off. It's still kind of, I mean, it's old fashioned on purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it's doing its job.
Yeah.
And Lamplight is trendy, but that's it's new. It's trendy. It has a bunch of different cocktails that look cool because that's what's really in right now. Or I think it's still in. I don't know what's in anymore, but
I think what they call it is Instagrammable.
Yes.
There you go.
Lots of Insta worthy drinks there that you want to hold up and try to get the fun wheel in the background as you take
That's
a picture.
What I learned in my Instagram post training.
No fists.
This drink is
don't look aggressive, Jimmy.
That's right.
This
Jazz
drink
hands.
is what that is called. See,
Feet open.
They're right together.
That's right. So let's move on to the I've got a couple notes of maybe tiebreak situations, but let's go to the dining at Rose and Crown.
Okay. Well, you're in luck because this menu is tiny compared to what it used to be. They used to have more curry options.
National dish,
a burger. They don't have any of this now. It's a little sad, but the stuff they have is really good. I've had all of these options before and they're all fantastic. I just kind of miss some of the other options that they used to have. But anyway, appetizers. They have a coronation salad because there's a king that was coronated, and that's just a salad with like a curry dressing. There's a Scotch egg. If you don't know what a Scotch egg is, it is I prefer it when it's soft boiled, but theirs is hard boiled, slightly less good. But take a hard-boiled egg, wrap it in sausage, and then fry it.
No, thank you.
Oh, I love a good Scotch egg. That's the appetizer list. How much would you expect to pay for a Scotch egg or a salad, Jimmy?
I'm looking at the menu, so don't ask me. Ask Dan.
A single Scotch egg?
One Scotch egg. It comes with mustard sauce.
Going with what seems to be a trend in the pricing, which is kind of low. My initial thought was $8, but then I thought again and said 12. So I'm going to go with 10.
14.
Ooh. The coronation salad is 12 though.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there are a grand total of 4 things on the menu.
4 entrees, fish and chips, bangers and mash, shepherd's pie, savory impossible hot pot, which is basically a shepherd's pie with impossible, quote, meat, the plant-based protein. So not a whole lot, but they're all really good. Mm-hmm. Bangers and mash is English sausage with potatoes, mushrooms, onions. The sauce on there is really great. It's a red wine demi-glaze. Fish and chips, everybody knows fish and chips. The tartar sauce is really, really solid, very vinegary. I like it a lot. Shepherd's pie, super heavy to eat in Florida, but it's meat, potatoes, vegetables, cheese. It's delightful. And then the hot pot is very similar. It's just all plant-based. Each of these meals is between $23 and $26. You get a lot of food, and you always got a lot of food. Back when they had a few curry options, those were gigantic. This place does not skimp on food. Desserts, sticky toffee pudding, very traditional. Plant-based seasonal gelato, not traditional, but hey, it's another option.
Eric, I'm curious because I just landed on something, and I'm going to guess that the answer is going to be yes, but if it's not, could be a point. Do you have mocktails?
There is I skipped over it accidentally.
We just have to, if it's we can reduce this to yes or no for the sake of Jimmy's and our listeners' sanity.
It's not a good mocktail. It's called specialty character drink, and it's lemonade with cotton candy flavor.
Yeah. It's just, you have just the one?
Just the one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe this could be a thing. I got non-alcoholic beverages. Of course, you have, your usual, but because we have the full bar with the fresh ingredients that they like to murder in front of you, we have 4, which we got Goofball Island. The range in price here is, again, it's about $7. Goofball Island, we got Simply Fruit Punch, Minute Maid Lemonade, and Raspberry Puree. So it's, canned and tap stuff with a fresh ingredient. Falling with Style, Minute Maid Lemonade with mango puree. Mint to Be, Simply Lemonade, watermelon, and berry puree with fresh mint topped with soda water. And $23.19, a frozen mocktail made with strawberry puree, cream of coconut, and pineapple juice topped with Coca-Cola. I don't know if that's point worthy, but
there are a lot of options, and they're pretty good. It's leading
me to something, and as I'm looking at both, I'm going back and forth between both menus.
Okay, are you ready for my menu?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, hang on. I just want to point out that if anybody needs it, I've got this Burn Bomb still has coupons in it, so you can get 10% off at the Electric Umbrella.
Hell yeah.
or at Liberty Inn, both of which don't exist anymore.
That's right. That's funny.
So I'm gonna not do dessert or kids menus because I wanted kids menus are just fun for me. So I'm just gonna skip it anyway for the interest of time.
If it helps, there's almost no kids menu here.
There's grilled chicken and fish and chips.
That's it.
So Lamplight does have a kids menu. I'm not going to go over it. Jimmy can probably look at it if he finds anything interesting. We have Disney 100 offerings, which are not always available. We have the meat bread meat sandwich that Asher mentioned. It's basically a ham and cucumber sandwich. Piper's clams, spicy tomato fennel sauce, dry Spanish chorizo. Oh, hello. Compound butter and sourdough bread with grilled lemon. That's possibly what I'm going to be getting when I go there in a couple days.
Dan's building his order as we speak.
Well, you had me at clams, and then when I saw chorizo, I'm like, yes. In case you haven't caught on, I like stinky food. For the bites, and this is. I'm not going to go to the bar menu exclusively, but this is basically the bar menu plus like one or two things that are standard for bar menus at Disney resorts. Lobster nachos that you heard so much about. What are they? Well, you got warm lobster with black beans, aged cheddar, Oaxaca cheese sauce. That's how you say it. Shredded cheese blend, pico de gallo, sliced serrano chilies, and chipotle crema. However you say it. Apparently, it's very good. But again, if I eat it, I will explode.
Because you're allergic to nachos.
Yes. You got potato skins, crispy Yukon gold potatoes with brown butter caper yogurt, smoked paprika aioli, and manchego cheese. They are not what you're expecting as far as potato skins go. They're very gastropubby. Still good, but if you're expecting, here's your potato, here's your cheese, it doesn't deliver that.
Oh, they're fantastic.
They're very good.
Yeah.
Salmon poke. You know what poke is? That's what that is. Kung Pao Bao. That's a Kung Pao glazed crispy pork belly, soft bao bun, red peppers, toasted peanuts, and green onions. Those are your bites. We got bigger bites, aka entrees. You got your stone fruit salad. The price range here is generally $22 to $27, depending on what you get. You know how food works. You can probably guess what is generally what. Stone fruit salad, chicken breast with mixed greens, sweet tea vinaigrette, and spicy cornbread crumbles. Salmon PLT. That's you know what a BLT is? Replace the P with the B, and you got a salmon PLT.
Prosciutto, right?
Pancetta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you got, fancy California stuff like lemon bacon aioli and toasted focaccia. It's basically BLT with salmon, and then it's served in California in a fancy way.
It's delightful.
Piper's clams also available as a bigger bite, which hello friend, you're going to be a good friend of mine later. Jerked Cornish hen, a beer brined jerk marinated Cornish game hen with balmy cake topped with strawberry chili jam, braised collards, and mixed green salads. If only I had time and room for both. Personal favorite of mine.
You can go twice, Dan.
Personal favorite of mine, Al Pastor pork chop, marinated Al Pastor bone-in pork chop, Oaxaca cheese polenta,
Oaxaca
Chewbacca cheese polenta, pineapple relish, charred onions, roasted red chili butter, and green chili sauce. And then we got a cheddar burger, which is, you've had a burger before, make it fancy. That's what that is. Plant-based offerings. We got our Brussels Caesar. You know what a Caesar salad is? You know what Brussels sprouts are? Put them together in your mind. That's what that is. And then we got a pastrami spiced impossible burger, which I hear is very good. Again, let's see, anything that you can't expect. They put a pineapple on it. Other than that, it's a pastrami spiced impossible burger. And again, make it fancy, make it California. That's what that is.
So your restaurant is California themed, and mine is British themed.
That's right.
It's not so much California themed. It's more that it is in California, and it's a gastropub.
Catering to that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to move along, and I'm going to say that both of these restaurants have similarly priced menus.
I do have one thing. I'm sorry. I forgot. At Lamplight Lounge, they have a brunch.
Right.
It is on the usual brunch days. I'm sure they have special. Let me see if it's available. I'll mention it. But it sounds like we're kind of trying to wrap up a little bit. It doesn't say when it's available, so ask your concierge. They have an entirely different menu, and they also have, I would imagine, different drinks. They have a mimosa flight, a cinnamon toast cocktail, beer mimosa. Non-alcoholic beverages are about the same. Kids meal is about the same. That's not true. There's more things, but our entrees, there's only 6. Price range is $20 to $28. Spiced ham Benedict. You know what Eggs Benedict is. Again, do the usual math. Brunch burger, which is a grilled custom burger blend with American cheese, 1 egg up, hash brown patty, roasted green chili, lettuce, caramelized onions, and paprika aioli on a toasted Amish bun with fresh fruit. Eric, here we go. Lamplight chilaquiles. House-made tortilla chips tossed in a 3 chili red sauce, cheddar jack, 2 eggs up, queso fresco, red onion, cilantro, serrano, sour cream, and sliced avocado. That one's only $20. We got an egg white frittata bake, hen of the woods mushrooms, spinach, tomatoes, roasted peppers and onions, smoked salmon, goat cheese, sour cream, and avocado, served with confit potatoes. That's confit as in the way you cook things.
Not they make you feel
comfortable. They are not comfortable because you eat them. Indulgent French toast, cinnamon brown sugar, challah bread, challah, however you say that, Irish cream whip, maple syrup, macerated berries, and house-made almond brittle. And finally, we have our New York avocado toast. Murder. Yeah, so much. Macerated sounds like brutal.
It sounds violent.
It means chewed, really.
Yeah.
That's masticated.
Oh, that's right. Oh, thank you, Jimmy.
Okay, and now
we're gonna take this fruit. I'm gonna chew it up.
Okay, and now the final touch. Sorry, Jimmy.
Let it dribble out of their mouth.
New York avocado. It's
sourdough
expensive.
avocado. Right. Yeah, you got the idea.
Okay, so here's what I wanted. I'd like to move on. First of all, what is a Disney check meal?
I think that's the kids' meal.
Yeah, it's got healthy stuff because they've got non-healthy kids meals and healthy kids meals.
Oh, okay.
Like they'll have the one that has potatoes and the one that has like fruit.
Right.
Well,
okay.
I've already eaten fruit.
Yes.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to say. First of all, Dan, brunch is every day from 9 to 1.
Are you serious?
According to the website.
Keep talking.
Lamplight Lounge. You've got brunch from 9 to 1, lunch from 2 to 3:55, and dinner from 4 to 8:30.
Oh my goodness! I'm going to get a reservation.
So
for
it's
that.
All 3 are between $15 to $35 per adult. There are so the meals are effectively the same price at both. The average between $22, $27, right?
Yeah.
The Lamplight Lounge offers a larger menu. 2 different menus.
Yeah.
A larger kids menu.
Right.
And so I'm going to say Lamplight Lounge. What?
Do you want to know about a special event?
Sure.
Real quick. It's not running right now because this was a harmonious dining package. But the most recent dining package at Rose and Crown, almost said Lamplight, was a Dan, how do we say it? Presfixie menu. Soup of the day, cheese platter, or Scotch egg is your app. Any of the entrees, dessert. So you get one of each of those. Unlimited drinks.
Ooh. Oh my God.
Including all beer and cocktails.
Wow.
For $1 million.
How much would you expect to pay per adult or child?
Well, for the child to get unlimited Guinness,
right?
First, they have to make the fake ID, which they do on site.
$124.
$56.
Wow. $89 per adult and
Split the
$39 per child. Probably because they should only have one beer.
All
That
right.
poor child. Hold on, honey. We'll go on Frozen. Shut up. We're gonna go on Frozen. Right. This is Daddy's time. This is Daddy's trip too. It's
Dan, is there anything like that equivalent at Lamplight Lounge?
I'm just gonna say no because I didn't see it.
It doesn't currently exist at Rose and Crown either, but it is one of the places where they regularly have dining packages for
There's not a World of Color dining package?
There is, but it's not at Lamplight. It's the dessert party.
Got it. Okay, so food and unlimited booze, point for Rose and Crown. Overall, as a dining experience, go ahead and play it.
Brilliant.
Overall, as a dining experience with not only more time to dine, I can eat there as early as 9 a.m. versus 11 at Epcot. I have 2 different menus, so I can try 2 different things in the same day or 2 different visits. There's the more breadth of dining where I can go to a bar and wait 10 minutes to get a seat and eat, some select things. More kids menu options, and effectively it's the same price at either. So because of breadth and diversity, more choices, I'm going to say the eating at Lamplight Lounge gets a point.
But you blew my mind.
So you're saying you're for diversity?
I am for diversity.
Oh, okay.
Hey, go work, Jimmy.
If one happened to be like significantly more expensive, maybe that would be out of its favor, but they're basically the same price for entrees.
I get it. Yeah.
But I have more, and I'm not giving it for the quality of food because I think the quality of food's probably the same in either way. One is catering to the UK British style, and California, we talked about that. So it's the breadth and variety. And the diversity, equity, and inclusion. Lamplight Lounge. Yes, so I'm going to say that and that. So we're still tied at 3.
Okay, we can wrap this up pretty quick. I think if we
thank
just
you so
go
much.
to. Do we want to include reviews, or do we want to do that next time we do a restaurant?
Unless there's a really interesting review you each want to share. I don't know that somebody else's opinion is going to change mine.
My positive reviews are pretty much just highlighting that the food is good and there is a lot of it, and normal things like Disney servers are fun and pleasant to talk to. Yeah, nothing too exciting. One person, I've got a 3-star review that is I'll summarize it with their first sentence. Unsure what constitutes high reviews for this restaurant unless you have nostalgia for British expats who stop by for dinner.
Dumb.
And then there's the ones. What a shame that Disney table service restaurants have switched over to the same mass-produced heat lamp stabilized food available throughout the parks.
Wow.
We used to enjoy this. This is a giant, like this is a trip report that they used as a 1-star review.
Nice.
Wow. And apparently they had the manager that day was named Cinderella. And
interesting.
And Cinderella swore that if they come back again, they will get a better meal. But it reminded me of my former employment at the Florida Correctional Institution.
Oh, geez.
My 3-star review has just a highlight here. The menu is very limited, and I wasn't impressed with the selection. Can you guess what they got?
Lobster nachos?
Hamburger.
Oh, a hamburger.
Like, what? That menu is enormous.
I know. And then let's see. Basically, the person that wrote the 1-star review is insinuating that they almost got assaulted by the management.
Wow.
Do they too work at a correctional facility?
It very much screams of, I don't know how to read the tone of other people, or this person is probably so unreasonable that they force everyone around them to become unreasonable in response.
I think we do have to do bathrooms.
That's fine. Do we want to do bathrooms then Land Impact?
I think Land
Oh,
Impact
Land Impact.
should. I think bathrooms need to come next because that's how it works at a restaurant. You
That's
use
right.
the bathroom last.
Yeah. So go ahead, Eric. Tell us about the Rose and Crown bathroom.
I can do
There's no
mine real
bathroom at the
quick.
Rose and Crown.
Oh,
Great.
okay.
Great.
The bathroom
there's
is
no
across the
bathroom.
way.
That's right.
It's
That's
in
right.
the land, but not in the restaurant.
Okay,
Right.
so I'll make my bathroom quick. There is one, and there's decorative stuff on the way. And this episode is already unmanageably long. So
Yeah.
the end.
Point Lamplight. I don't have to walk across the street. Go.
But you blew my mind.
Land Impact.
Hold on, before
Yes.
you go, I'll do mine. It exists.
It's crucial because if you're going to have a British land, you have to have a British pub.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. I had a whole quote from the Walt Disney's Epcot Center, the giant tome that they put out before
Oh, cool.
the park opened. But let's just say it's crucial. It's British. You have
So
to have a British pub.
Mhm.
I'll give it a point for that because you're right. If you're going to have a UK, you have to have a British pub that does that. Now, but I don't want to discount either.
No, I think for me it comes down to like when we talk about the cigar store Indian on Main Street. It's like
Mhm.
if it weren't there, if it were never there, no one would be like, "Where's the cigar store Indian?"
Right.
But same thing with Lamplight. If it was always just a place where they could have opened up a snow cone facility there,
Right.
and no one would fault them to be like,
The
"Yeah, I
roof would
guess
match it.
that's what they do," you know.
Yeah, I think that you're right. Now, I will say though that because of its proximity and on the water, it's just it's a part of the land, but it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be there.
Yeah.
Whereas I think you're right, Eric. The Rose and Crown has to be there.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I think that point was well deserved.
Yeah, I would have garnered up a stronger argument if it was, say, the Moroccan restaurant, where it's just like
Right.
neither necessarily have to be there, you know. But yeah, Rose and Crown, if they don't have a pub in that pavilion, then
Yeah, that's right.
why
What are
even
you doing?
Go to the pavilion.
Yeah. What
It's
do you
just
do?
like they have a tea store. Of course, they have a tea store.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and soccer gear.
And a corgi adoption agency.
Corgi boy. Okay, so it's tied at 4.
Oh no!
And thank you for doing the research, and thank you for doing the work. And listener, thanks for listening. This is where I'm going to bring some subjectivity into it. I would eat it either. I have eaten it at both. I enjoy both. If I'm in the mood for British food, I want to go to Rose and Crown. If I'm, you know what I mean, whatever. So I think as an experience, we already talked about the breadth of the menu at Lamplight. We talked about the different bars. We talked about the different histories and that sort of thing. So I think for me, back to our old default, if I'm standing and I can go to one or the other, I can magically go from one coast to the other. If I'm going to want to go to a place that is, Rose and Crown feels very closed in. It feels very stuffy, feels kind of old British.
Mm-hmm.
Lamplight is a very open, very airy, and what an incredible feeling to be either on the patio or even inside the restaurant, feeling the breeze from outside in an open air environment that's very casual and relaxed. For that reason, I'm going to say that Lamplight Lounge is the supreme waterside restaurant with view of nighttime spectacular.
But you blew my mind.
I will point out, I completely agree with you, Jimmy. I love Rose and Crown.
I do too.
It's one of my favorite places to go in Epcot now.
Agreed.
And I really, really love Lamplight Lounge. I do have to relate my one experience that was awful at Lamplight.
Okay.
They had the lagoon drained.
Oh
God, right?
Yes.
So I was there for that.
Right.
Yes.
But that particular day, I ate there alone. I can't remember why. I just maybe it was the first day that I was there before everybody else showed up or something.
No,
But
we banished you. Remember?
Oh, that's right. I was excommunicated from the
Supreme
convention, from Supreme Con, and I went there in the middle of the day, and they sat me outside, and no matter where I sat, the sun was bearing down on me, and I'm looking out at this nuclear wasteland,
Right.
of
All these
World
pipes
of
sticking out of
Color
the ground.
pipes. And I the food was great. The drink I had was awesome. I think I had a Scotch egg salad and, a whatever cocktail, but it was so uncomfortable. And just looking at like, this is depressing as all get out.
Yeah, totally. Blazing sun and just like wasteland. Of
like,
toxic.
can you please bring me the check? Please bring me the check. I want to leave.
When the water was drained, I remember it so had that Las Vegas during the day feeling.
Yeah, totally.
Like, ew, I was in there.
At night, you could ignore it when it was drained. But during the day, you're like, oh, what?
Indeed. Well, very well done, guys. Thank you very much. That was the case of the Waterside dining with spectacular whatever. And Lamplight Lounge wins. So moving on. That's the end of the show. There are other shows you can listen to. You can rate and review our show. Tell your friends about it. Thank you for listening. Eric, do you have anything else?
No.
Dan, anything else?
I have this treatise that I wanted to read.
Oh, boy. All right. Until next time, everybody.
Wait, I've got my rebuttal to Dan's treatise to also read.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. Be good to each other. And until next time, court is adjourned.
Technically, I do have a portion on the Astuter computer review, but only because part of it was filmed in the UK pavilion.
And Astuter computer.
It was the shortest lived Epcot attraction.
Oh, man. That's the one.
That was the one.
We missed it.
I need a quick break.
Ooh, pee time?
Yes.
Perfect.
Be right back.
Be right back. Blue Chew. I already went. All right.
I didn't think this would go this long.
Yeah.
It's cool that it is.